So I can't remember who, I don't know, maybe Pete, when you were talking about trying to get William to school, did you ever try bribery?
Yeah, we've tried bribery, right?
How'd that work out for you?
Not very well.
So how bribery works, typically how it shows up at SUWS, you send me brilliant kids. So, you know, first, second, third grade, they're rifling through school, piece of cake, da-da-da-da, A's, or whatever. Then at some point you get a grade. It's generally around middle school where they start to struggle. And it's like, well, all right, I'll give you $5 for an A. You know, you elicit some sort of bribery. And it generally works for that first marking period. And then it's done, which is common across certainly America and the globe on some level. So there's this idea of motivation, right? We want them to be motivated. We want them to be motivated to go to school. We want them to be motivated to do good. We want them to be motivated to make good decisions. And you have intrinsic motivators, intrinsic, and extrinsic. Which one do you want your kids to have? Intrinsic. Why? Why is intrinsic? Because everybody says the same thing. Intrinsic. I want intrinsic motivation. Why?
Because you want them to be driven by themselves, not by external. You want them to have the drive to complete tasks, regardless of whether or not they're being rewarded for it.
All right. And what is intrinsic motivation based in? Like it has to have a framework. What's the framework?
Is it like self-pride or something like that?
Self-pride, your internal value system, your internal belief system. It's great. It could be survival, but generally survival is an extrinsic motivator on some level. I get rewarded by living, you know, that would be an extrinsic. But this idea is like, you know, they have their own belief system. They have their own religious principles. They have their own kind of like what they value. It's great. But what happens when we offer the $5 for the A? Or I'll give you, you know, a new phone if you go to school this quarter. Or whatever the bribery is. Because I imagine many of you have tried bribery on some level. What's that do? Does that build intrinsic motivation? No, that becomes an extrinsic motivator. And as soon as you introduce a bribe, you kill intrinsic motivation. You kill it.
But we all act from both. It's not one or the other. I mean, I want to get paid. I don't go to work because, you know, it makes me feel great every day. In fact, it feels like crap. And I know that if I don't, not every day, but some days it does.
Right.
But if I don't get paid, then I don't get to feed my family. I don't get to pay the mortgage. I mean, extrinsic is just as important as intrinsic. I don't know why, you know, it is important that, you know, survival, I think it is an extrinsic thing. You know, you go out and you put plants in a field and grow them, not because, you know, you love just sitting there staring at plants. It's because you don't do it, you don't eat. You know,
right, but let's go back.
You get beaten up by the guy over there in a tribe, so you were nice to them. That's an extra. You're not doing it because you're just a lovely person. You're doing it because getting beaten up by somebody is just a bad thing. But I don't know if that's the right. If I'm looking at this right, but
You're looking at it 100% correct. So let's look at the job thing. Yeah, I love my job, but if I'm not paid, I'll probably go do something else, right? And then, like, I start to do really well in this job. Well, I think I'm worth more money. So if they're not going to pay me enough, I'm going to look for a different job. So what happens with the money bribe for school, it's like, okay, that $5 for an A worked great for the first quarter. Then there's like this inflation. Like, I'm worth $20 an A, Dad. And they're like, if you're not going to give me the $20 that I think I'm worth, then I'm not going to work hard. And so schoolwork becomes extrinsically motivated. But yet, as parents, we have this belief system. We want our kids to be intrinsically motivated, to be educated. Well, as soon as we introduce the money, it becomes an extrinsic force instead of an intrinsic force. And it's not just kids. The first time, this is one of the most studied things in human psychology. The first time they studied this was with smokers. It was in the 60s. People that smoked chronically. We'll give you $50 if you stop smoking. And it worked for 90 days. And then what did the people do? They went back to smoking more than what they were before they started this study. And it's like, well, what the hell? I mean, we're talking about lung cancer here. All right, well, maybe this isn't a big enough life event. So some other researchers replicated the study, but with people that had had a major cardiac event. These people had had heart attacks or whatever. And it's like, look, we'll pay you $50 or whatever it was to stop eating saturated meat and change your diet. It worked for 90 days. And then they went right back to their old diet. And so there's no, like, it was their health, their life. You'd think would be an intrinsic motivator. You're gonna live longer if you change your freaking diet, and we'll pay you. But it didn't work. So then it was like, okay, let's throw this out. Maybe we're just not offering enough money. So they went to India, and I don't remember what they changed. They picked some random small village in India. And it's like, we'll give you a month's wages. That's a lot of money. A month's wages to change whatever the behavior was. And it worked for 90 days, and then they went right back. It's like, man, like, what's a whole lot of money? How come this isn't changing behavior? And so oftentimes those extrinsic forces are not going to change behavior. And what you're invested in is changing behavior, right? That's why SUWS is here. Like, we're trying to change some behavior. And so the idea of we want our kids to be motivated to change behavior, but all our extrinsic stuff isn't necessarily working. These bribes don't work. And it's not just your kids, it's humans. Like, in the middle of summer, the New York Times they didn't publish the study, but they wrote an article about this study that was just published about how people were being paid to go to the gym or not paid to be going to the gym. Who went to the gym more? The people who weren't paid. So bribery does not change behavior. So they do, I said as one of the most researched things, they have found a way to try to teach this. Yesterday I went through around the room, so I was like, oh, I noticed you're paying attention. I noticed that you're a little curious. Literally, they've come up with the researched how to teach this is just by saying the word notice. Now, we as parents in our generation get in trouble because, oh, I noticed you got good grades. Man, you must be really proud of you. I'm so proud of you, do all that. As soon as you add that external valuation of you must have worked so hard, that's an extrinsic motivator because that's my value system speaking to what you did. That's not intrinsic, that's extrinsic. So if you just say, hey, I noticed that you got an A, and you leave it at that, that lets Junior put the intrinsic valuation system on, did I work hard, did I not? Sometimes like school comes easy for certain kids. It's like, the science teacher's a moron, I can get an A in my sleep. Like I didn't really work hard, I just showed up. But they can put that intrinsic valuation on it, not your extrinsic motivator. So, yeah, go ahead.
So how do you balance that with you're supposed to praise effort, not the outcome? Like that's the...
I noticed that you seemingly worked hard on that.
Okay.
Well, are you proud of me? Should I be? You just turn it back into questions. You ask them, are you proud of yourself? Did you work hard on this? But says, let them figure it out. And again, you're not going to be 100% on this all the time. We're looking for like 10% change from you guys. 10% change. So often you're going to just immediately roll, because you've been conditioned to roll right into that praise thing. But it's like literally just walk. I noticed that you picked up the sock. I noticed that you picked up the dish.
Is it any different than the 5-to-1 thing we ended with yesterday? Just
Five good things. Yep.
pretty much same?
Yep. And notice is like if you can notice 5 positive things, you're nailing it. But again, it's like, hey, I didn't notice that you didn't slap your brother on the butt. It's not good, it's not bad. Those are your valuations, not theirs. So if you're trying to teach intrinsic motivation, and there's a place for both. There is a place for both in your kids' lives, but if you're truly trying to change behavior from an intrinsic position, you cannot introduce bribes. You just notice. I noticed that you did this. I noticed that you did that. All right? Over and over and over. Notice the people you love, and you will build intrinsic motivation. And you'll also notice quickly how fast behavior changes. When you notice people, their behavior changes. It's not good, it's not bad. Hey, I noticed that you're paying attention. If you do that at a 5-to-1 ratio for the positives and negatives, you'll absolutely shape their behavior. And it's amazing how quickly it happens.